Hey, what's up, Compete Training Academy family? Welcome to the Compete Mentality Podcast. The mission of the Compete Mentality Podcast is to motivate, educate, and inspire others to compete. No matter what area of life you're in, we are all called to compete. Our definition of competing is doing what God is calling you to do, even when it's hard. This episode of the Compete Mentality Podcast is sponsored by the Lewis Jackson and Jordan Delks Basketball School. You're looking for details coming this April on our social media avenues. It's now my pleasure to introduce Indiana Wesleyan basketball player Kyle Mangas. Kyle, thanks for joining us today, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be in person with you today.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the first in-person podcast right here in the Compete Training Academy barn. So it's exciting to do it with my guy here. And I opened up on social media this morning to you guys to shoot some questions. And I got a couple from the peanut gallery here. And I got one guy chirping, our guy, Jacob Johnson. He has a question for you, Kyle, just calling you out straight up. Who wins in a one-on-one game between you and him?
In his prime, he was a pretty good player. Strong, physical, but had a lot of skill too, could shoot. So, I was a freshman when he was a senior, and to be honest, he could probably beat me, but I'm beating him now because he sits behind the computer all day.
I like it. Great answer. We love you, JJ, and you need to come get some of this here in the barn sometime, bro. And another question was, who wins in a one-on-one game? Who's the best one-on-one player on the IW coaching staff with all the coaches? So we got Coach Tonigal.
Yeah.
We got Coach Clark.
Yeah.
We got Hudson Welty. Who else we got?
Osborne.
Coach Osborne.
Yeah.
And between all the coaches, who you take?
That one's pretty tough too, but I've got to go with Coach Tonigal. I think he's the biggest competitor and just hates losing more than any of those other guys. And he's still got a lot of skill. Like I was telling Jordan here, we still do shooting drills, and he gets like the best score out of anyone. He can just go out there after, being with his kids like the whole entire weekend, just come back out, pick up a ball, and make a bunch of threes like it's nothing. So I'll give it to him.
Man, Coach T, shout out, brother. I love it. So, Kyle, we're big foodies at CTA. Actually, you and I, man, the last 2 Wednesdays, we've enjoyed some great barbecue. Shout out to Hobbies downtown Marion. Kyle and I enjoyed some barbecue last week there, and then Kyle and I just had some Jefferson Street. Also a great place in Converse. Make sure you hit those spots. But I want to hear your go-to restaurant right now. It can be here in Marion, back home, in Warsaw, just wherever, man. What's your go-to restaurant?
My favorite is a restaurant back where I'm from, Winona Lake, Indiana. It's called Cerulean, and it's called a bento box. So it's got, panko chicken, white rice, potatoes. It's got this broccolini salad thing, and my favorite, Brussels sprouts. So that may sound like I'm a healthy eater. I like to eat my junk food, but that's probably my favorite.
That's a good call. I love Cerulean right there on Winona Lake too. It's Courtney and I always love taking the bikes or something up there and riding, and then hitting Cerulean on the way home. So what's the ice cream shop right there?
Kalani's.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's really good. It's popular in the summer.
Yeah, so we hit the ice cream shop on the way home too. That's a great place. Yeah. So Kyle, just curious, like obviously you're known for how good you play basketball. I'm just curious, like you got any hobbies outside of basketball? What do you like to do off the court, bro?
Yeah, I do. I've recently, the past 3 or 4 years, picked up pickleball. I love to play pickleball. Okay. I keep my paddle in my car always, so I'm always ready to play.
That's awesome.
We like going out there to Matter Park on the north side of Marion.
Yep.
They've got like 8 nice courts out there.
Who's we?
Some of my teammates.
Okay.
Michael Zitney.
Yep.
Nolan Mader. Spencer Piercefield's really good.
Okay.
But also I play with my family a lot. That's where I first picked it up. My parents have a set. We like to play. I'm really competitive, so I like that. I like beach volleyball.
Okay.
We played on campus a lot.
Yep.
Was just in Arizona and hiked out there. Camelback Mountain. That's my favorite place to hike in Arizona. So,
man, that's cool. Those are all good hobbies. And Kyle, a lot of us here in Marion, in Grant County, we know a lot about you now, and got to witnessed an amazing career you had, but just share with everybody kind of your background and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I think I have a pretty unique basketball background. Always played at a young age, out in the driveway, in the basement. Always remember playing, with my brother and the neighborhood kids. And my brother's 2 years older than me, so I always wanted to play with the kids his age who were 2 years older than me. And
For sure.
I feel like that kind of was the starting point of making me into the player that I am today, just playing against guys who were way bigger and stronger, because I was always one of the smaller kids in my grade. I was always point guard, pretty fast, but I wasn't tall or long by any means, kind of where I am now. But always developed a strong love for the game of basketball. I never had to ask my dad or ask someone, or they never had to beg me to go work out. I always wanted to do it on my own. And, I always feel like I had that drive. And, that kept going into high school. I'm from Warsaw High School, and, it's a great community, great basketball community, rich tradition. Rick Fox played there.
Yep.
The Plumlee brothers, who are in the NBA, they're from Warsaw, and they played a couple years there. So, the community goes to all the games, big high school gym. So I'm grateful to come from a community like that. Had a really good high school coach, Doug Ogle, who he just retired a couple years ago. And, he was one of my mentors growing up. So a lot of credit to him. And then, coming to Indiana Wesleyan, I wasn't a highly recruited kid at all. I started talking to them, I think, when I was a freshman and sophomore, and they were the first school I ever talked to. And we just clicked right away. Just the relationships I built with the coaches, and, what I Am Free stands for, but the relationships I built with the players too. Like we talked about Jacob Johnson. I knew him well before I even committed or had an offer or anything like that. I knew it was a place where my values, fit their values. And I think that's important for all kids, whether you're playing basketball or just going to school, to look for a place like that. I think that's really important. But I committed to IWU at the end of my junior year pretty early. I had 2 offers, I think. Grace College was the other one that's right there in Warsaw. So like I said, I wasn't highly recruited at all, and kind of had a chip on my shoulder. A funny story, Coach Ogle one time asked a coach in the Crossroads League when I was a junior, said, "Hey, what do you think about Kyle Mangas? Would you be interested at all?" And he said, "No, he's not good enough to play there." So that kind of put a chip on my shoulder. That kind of put a chip on my shoulder a little bit. And, it's been fun ever since. Just came into IWU and loved it right away. And, getting ready to graduate in a month, and, it's gone by too fast.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you got an incredible story and journey and testimony to share. And I kind of want to develop this podcast by taking bits and pieces from exactly what you just talked about. And I loved how you said when you were little, when you were going through workouts, your dad and your brother didn't have to beg you to come. You just had that passion for the game. And when we got lunch last week, we were just chopping it up, and I could really tell how much you love basketball. That is your passion, and players, coaches, teams, and you truly love the industry. And I think that's really cool. And I'm just curious, how did your love for basketball start? And where it was just a boy, a ball, and a dream. How did it start?
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit, but it definitely started in the driveway with my brother. He would always beat me in whatever we did, one-on-one, anything like that. And I think that started, just a hunger inside of me that I want to get better at basketball. I love basketball. We played it all day. We had a really nice hoop in the driveway. That's where it all started.
That's cool. And, it's that sibling rivalry is like none other. I got a little brother, and we used to go to war all the time, and same with Courtney and her brother. That's where it started, and that's cool. That's cool. That's where it all started. And curious, growing up, we all have our childhood heroes, our childhood idols, or that player that we tried to emulate our game after. Who was it for you?
Yeah, mine's one that you guys probably would never guess. Manu Ginobili. Played for the San Antonio Spurs.
Okay.
He was my favorite by far. You can ask anyone who I'm closest to back home. Obviously, he's retired now, but He was my favorite growing up. Just, I mean, the way he played the game, just his craftiness,
Yep.
his skill, his poise, and I just loved all of that. I mean, he had a little flash to him, but he played basketball the right way. You know, he got his teammates involved, but you know, he could shoot, he could drive to the basket, he could dribble. I really appreciated him, and I enjoyed watching him in those years when they went to the championship out every year and when they would, you know, compete against LeBron.
Absolutely, man. That's a great player to emulate your game after. And I actually, you saying that, I can see flashes for sure.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's really cool. Kyle, you talked a little bit about your recruiting process, but really just give us the ins and outs of like when it started to who offered you and how you ultimately chose IW. Just go in depth there.
Yeah. I came to Super Hoops camp, which is at Indiana Wesleyan in the summer, I think my freshman year. And I don't even think I was playing varsity. I might have been, I can't remember. But an IWU coach came up, assistant, came up and started talking to my parents. And they just kind of started talking. That was like the first taste I ever had. Like, I didn't know anything about like being recruited or about a college coach. Like, I didn't know anything about that. So that was kind of where it started. And then especially, you know, sophomore, junior, senior year, Coach Whaley, who's now the women's coach at Indiana Wesleyan, built a really good relationship with him. He came to most of my games, and I think I do have the record for most visits and most open gyms by an IWU recruit. I would be down there like 4 times in the summer. You know, they do these things called junkyards, which are outdoor workouts, and they're really hard, but they're fun too. But I did like 3 of those as a recruit, which I think is the record. You can ask Coach Clark about this, but I mean, that just shows that I got along with the players and, you know, fit the culture, I think, so well. And I knew it was the right place for me all along. You know, a lot of people get in their heads that, you know, it's D1 or nothing. And, you know, D1 can be good as long as it's the right fit for you. You know, I think it's not about going to the most popular spot or what all your friends want you to do. But go to a school that really fits you and, you know, where you're going to grow as a person outside of basketball, where you're going to enjoy it, where you're going to enjoy people on the campus. And, you know, that's what I really discussed with my parents and, you know, really prayed about that through that whole process. Cause I mean, it's such a stressful process now. And I think social media puts a lot of pressure on kids that, you know, they have to go to the biggest school or the most popular school, like I said, but it's not about that at all. I mean, you can have the same exact experiences as any college basketball player and, you know, go to an NAIA school or Division III or anything like that. So, I mean, that was really what's important for me. And I would encourage, you know, high schoolers now to really look into that.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of hoopers I train right now that are listening to this podcast and that can take a lot from your recruiting experience. And my encouragement to you guys listen to this is, man, just like Kyle said, like, don't get hung up on the most popular school. Always consider fit, what's best for you. And I've had a lot of coaches and hoopers on this podcast that have flat out said, you know what, like, level doesn't matter. Like, you're seeing guys make it to the league now who played Division III basketball, who make a roster after playing Division II basketball, who make a roster in the NAIA. I mean, like, it is possible. So, like, I think that's huge. And you're a prime example, being the state of Indiana's second all-time leading scorer in college basketball history by choosing the right fit.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really cool.
Thank you.
Kyle, tell us about the week in the life of Kyle Mangas. Really, we say all the time in CTA to treat the game like a pro. We train players holistically, meaning mind, body, and spirit, all the way from nutrition to weights to strength and conditioning to on-the-court skill development. And for you to get to where you are today just didn't happen by accident. Like, you really work at your craft. You treated the game like a pro. So, like, I just want you to give us kind of like the day in the life, the week in the life of Kyle Mangas, like right in the middle of like January, February, or it's hard at conference. Like, how are you treating your body? What are you doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm happy I can share about my senior year because my freshman and sophomore year were so different. I didn't take things seriously like, you know, nutrition or stretching or like taking care of your body. And I didn't really think about that. I just went out there and played, but senior year, things really changed for me, and I felt more athletic on the court. I felt fast, and overall I felt more freedom, spiritually from that. So I can share a little bit about that. So just like what my normal week looks like. On a Monday, I'll wake up. Thankfully, I'm only in 2 classes last semester, my senior year, so I don't have a heavy class load. Wake up around 8:30 or 9 and head to the gym. And usually I get in a workout with Coach Tonigal, a shooting workout, or on my own. And then I go get a nice lunch, and I really try to avoid, pops and sweets and all that stuff, because I do enjoy that stuff, but try to really limit it during season. And then I'll go to my 1 class usually that I have per day, or sometimes no classes. Then we have practice in the afternoon. And a big thing that I really started doing was stretching before and after practice. That really helped me get my body right. I'm not a flexible person by any means, but it really helps the older you get. So I wish I would have started those habits when I was younger in high school and even in college. In the evening, I might come back for some shooting or things like that. But one important thing I want to note is we have a saying at IWU by our coaches: no Bible, no breakfast. So I really dove into that my senior year, and man, every day, and usually in the evening too, I'd really dive into the Word and hear what God said to me. And He spoke a lot to me about expectations that I didn't not only put on myself, but by other people. Was feeling, a lot of pressure about that, and, about my identity as a basketball player. So, I really dove into that, and I felt so much freedom towards the end of the year, where I was to the point where I was like, I don't even care if we win or lose. I feel so much freedom right now. And I know I'm not consumed or identified as just a basketball player, but so much more than that. So, man, that was probably the biggest part for me, just spiritually and mentally throughout the season.
Absolutely. Thanks for the in-depth look on that. And I actually want to ask a couple questions from that. Like, one, I love to hear how spiritually the way you got freedom was just draw near to God. He draws near to you. James 4:8. And I love hearing that you just really, made it your own your senior year, just getting in the Word. And I can getting lunch last week was the first time I saw you after the national championship. And obviously it didn't end the way that you wanted to, that any of us wanted it to end. But I could see literally in Kyle's face and in his demeanor, like he was okay. Like life goes on. Basketball is not his identity. And I talk with so many hoopers and coaches right now, guys, that man, when they lose, when their career ends, they go into this serious crisis and depression of who am I? What's my identity? And I hope you can hear it in Kyle's voice, and all of you, no matter what walk of life you're in, you're encouraged by Kyle's testimony here of, man, I put my identity in Christ and got to experience freedom, and my identity is not in basketball. So also I want to get, I think it's huge that basketball, we say all the time here in the barn, basketball, being athletic is about being flexible. And I love that you really took to heart just, and that was evident. I remember, so I was able to, and I was so thankful I could see your final game at Lucky and go to the IUSB game. And I remember dunking on somebody's head. Yeah. I'm like, dang, dude. And I believe we're kind of going on a rabbit trail here, but these are the best stories. So in the beginning of that game, might have been Taysom, correct me if I'm wrong, driving and gets mugged. Yeah. And someone stepped over him.
Oh, it was Spencer.
Oh, yeah, it was Spencer. And I see Dylan just coming out of nowhere you ain't stepping over my boy. And I see you running in there, and I was like, oh, boy, this is going to get hairy. Yeah. And I believe you got your revenge and dunked on that dude's head. And you might have whispered a fefew things to him after that too. I thought that was a pretty cool moment though.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's always remember that game, my last game in Lucky Arena. And it came out. I mean, we came out. It was just really competitive. They were competitive. So, I mean, those are the most fun games on both sides. That's what you want.
Absolutely. That's exactly what you want. Just good, solid competition. And Kyle, honestly, like one of the most staggering stats that I've ever seen in all of college basketball, you playing the guard position, shooting 60% and higher during seasons. Like that is just like blows my mind. Like a post player who scores most of their points around the basket is shooting 60% or higher.
Yeah.
And you're shooting threes. You're shooting from all over the place.
Yeah.
So like first two-part question here. How do you develop that type of confidence? And then number two, what are some of the staple drills? So like first, let's just talk about how do you develop that type of confidence to be able to go out season after season and shoot 60% or higher?
Yeah. Well, my mentality when I'm on the court is, you know, whether I make a shot or miss a shot, whether I make 5 shots in a row or miss 5 shots in a row, you know, I can't think about, you know, that last play. I have to move on to the next opportunity. And, you know, my teammates and coaches, I mean, they always kind of make fun of me because I never have any emotion on my face, but that's just because I'm already moved on to the next play. Like, I don't care if I made it or missed it. Like, I'm ready to move on and, you know, attack the next opportunity. So I think that helps a lot with shooters. You know, when the ball's not going in, it can be easy for you to get inside your own head and, you know, saying like, I've put in all this work. I've put in all this work. I've put up this many shots, this and that. But I think it comes down to that mentality, trusting that you put in the work and just knowing that, you know, the next opportunity that you have, you know, that shot's going to go in. So that's big. And as far as drills go, I actually shoot the most amount of my shots right around the rim in the paint, even though I'm a guard. I post up a lot, driving to get downhill, cutting, that type of thing. So because I shoot so close to the basket area, you know, that helps my percentages, like you said. But, you know, I did mic and drill every day in high school. Our high school coach had us doing that. I did it growing up too. And I even do it some now. I think it's the best drill because no matter where I am, if I'm in front of the basket from like 12 feet and in, I'm using the glass on every single shot.
Yeah.
And my like
I said, it's that Spurs in you, man.
Yeah, that's Spurs. They make fun of me for it a little bit, but they actually really like it and they try to do it too and emulate it. Like Michael Thompson and Big Tim on our team, they do it now too, and it works for them because I think it just provides more touch, you know, and just better angles instead of, you know, just trying to float it over the rim and swish it. And I mean, different stuff works for different people. So banking works for me, and you know, like I said, I score most of my points around the rim, so I'm banking everything down there.
I love hearing you say that because we call it holistic training here at Compete Training Academy. And I love at your position, you know, you're like you said, you're posting up, you're driving to the rim, you're shooting the three. And that is what we do here as trainers is we do that no matter what position you are. We're going to be putting you through everything because we believe it's our job as your trainer to prepare you for any situation. It's your coach's job to define a role.
Yeah.
But it's our job as trainers. And I got that actually from Bo Ryan when I was up there working his camp up at Wisconsin. You know, you see these tall 7-footers, you know, shooting threes, and you see their point guards posting up in the swing offense. And that's how he wanted to develop a hooper. And that is a true hooper.
Yeah.
That they can shoot the three, they can post you up. Kobe. You know, like that's what a hooper is. That's who Kyle Mangas is. He's a true hooper. He can take you on the block. He can take you off the bounce up. He can put the ball on the deck and score it, and he can shoot it, catch and shoot it. I mean, so I love hearing you say those things. And I love that you mentioned just the mic and drill, like, and be honest with you guys, like basketball is not reinventing the wheel. Like, basketball is basketball, focusing on your fundamentals. Kyle is so fundamentally sound, and he just did all the little details so well, so hard. It doesn't matter what you do. It's how hard you do it. And I hope you got a lot out of his question at the beginning when we were talking about what he was doing during his week, where he's going in the gym multiple times a day. He's getting in there with Coach T. He's taking care of his body. And so all that stuff adds up to that confidence. And I love hearing that. And really, Kyle, in closing, I want you to share with us a time in your life you really had to compete. And our definition of competing is doing what God is calling you to do, even when it's hard. So share a situation where you really had to fight through adversity and compete.
Yeah, the time that a time, when this occurred was my freshman year, and we went on a 3-game losing streak at IWU, and that's not very common there. And we kind of had like a players only meeting. Jacob Johnson and Ben Carlson were leading it, our seniors, and they came up to me and said, "Hey Kyle, we need you to be a leader. Like we need you to be vocal. We need you to show more emotion. We need you to, do these things that leaders do, because it elevates our team more, and that's going to help us in winning." And that kind of took me back, because I was the quietest kid at the time. I'm a natural introvert, and getting out of my comfort zone that's hard for me. So I was kind of taken aback by this, because I was like, man, like, can I really do this for our team? And like, I don't know if I want to do, like, I mean, I was the leading scorer on our team that time. And, those 2 seniors told me that guys really looked to me in moments of adversity to what I was doing. And, I realized how important that was. And I realized that, if I could be vocal and get outside my shell, if I could show some more emotion to, spark some life on the court, I realized that was so necessary. And like you said, competing is doing what God is calling you to do, even when it's hard. That's not easy. It's not easy to get out of your comfort zone like that. But, I realized that was so necessary for the team. And, ever since that, my leadership skills have taken off. And, I was so vocal, especially this year as a senior. I mean, it's so fun leading a team and pouring into younger guys with your voice and, your actions too. So that's what sticks out to me.
Absolutely. And that's such a powerful testimony. When you're talking, I'm kind of getting chills over here on my arms, just with those stories. And those are incredible stories, Kyle. And but the passage of scripture that kept coming to my mind when you're telling this story was of Peter stepping out of the boat. And when you're telling the story about you being a freshman and you're a natural introvert, and you're nervous to step out and be a leader. Doesn't come natural for you to be vocal and show that emotion. But when you started doing that, like, you stepped out of the boat, man, like, and you were able to do what God called you to do, even when it's hard. And it's, man, like, it's cool to see like that moment in time where you had to make that decision during that 3-game losing streak. Mm-hmm. And now to where you are today, the second all-time leading scorer in college basketball history, which you really don't even care about, knowing you. Like, you literally don't care about that because you're such a team guy. And the championships that you've won, but also just the relationships and the way you're able to further the kingdom through basketball is just unbelievable. And I love how to think about it. Even this passion and you becoming a leader, you stepping out of the boat, started during a 3-game losing streak, during adversity. So, guys, wherever you're at, like, the adversity you're going through right now, it's happening for a reason. And you got to embrace the struggle. My buddy on my college basketball team, Nick Neal, he's playing overseas. I need to get you on here, buddy. He's got a tattoo across his chest that says, "No struggle, no progress." So, like, if you're going through the struggle, like you're going through the grind right now, you got to embrace that, because you can't progress without that. And you can't become mature, complete, lacking in nothing, like James says, without that. So, Kyle, thanks so much for sharing that. That means a lot. And, man, I can't wait to go back and listen to this podcast and just enjoy this again. I hope you listeners were able to enjoy the first in-person podcast here with the 2-time NAIA Player of the Year, Kyle Mangas. Compete Training Academy family, always remember that competing is doing what God is calling you to do, even when it's hard.